Hi guys, today we're going to work on the notes for September 8th. This is section 1-5, solving inequalities. This is really similar to solving equations, so if you're doing okay with that, then hopefully this lesson will be pretty nice for you. There's just a couple of little tweaks that you'll need to know about. So by the end of the lesson, we'll hopefully be able to solve inequalities by graphing them on a number line. Let's get started. So first of all, you need to recognize these symbols. This is the greater than symbol, greater than, less than. Then this one I would call greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And then you probably guessed it, but this one is less than or equal to. Or equal to. What you need to know about these is that we're going to use those symbols to help guide us on how our number line will look at the end of our solving. So I'm going to give you kind of a little graphic organizer here on the side. Whenever we graph on a number line, we're going to have to decide, okay, are my values going to go to the right or to the left? So I'm going to go ahead and just first write in all of these symbols, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. I think it makes it a little bit easier to look at. Now, what I need you to know about graphing on a number line is if I have a point, let's say that point 0, and I want to say, hey, it's greater than 0. There is a symbol that will show that we mean greater than, and it would be notated by an open circle. I could also use that for less than. Greater than or less than would be notated by an open circle. Whereas greater than or equal to or less than or equal to would be notated by a closed circle, which is shaded in. And then notice these in this column here, both of these are greater than, this one is greater than or equal to. These would go to the right. Whereas if it was less than or equal to, then those values would go to the left. So for instance, if I said, let's make this an 8. Let's say, hey, greater than 8, that would be an open circle to the right. If I said less than or equal to 8, that would be a closed circle going to the left. So it really just depends. Let's go ahead and solve an inequality so we can see how it looks. Look at this problem. X divided by 3 minus 10 is greater than -7. We're going to start trying to solve it the same way we would as if there were an equal sign there. So let's go ahead and do our inverse operations. Add 10 to both sides. It would cancel here. I would be left with x over 3. Notice I'm going to put greater than, and then -7 plus 10 is 3. Let's finish solving this by again doing inverse operations. The inverse of dividing by 3 is to multiply by 3. So my final answer is x is greater than 9. So if this was just an equation, we'd be good to go, we'd be finished. But this one says to solve the inequality and graph the solution set on a number line. So let's go ahead and graph 9 on this number line here. And I have to think, look at this symbol. It's greater than. Was that an open circle or closed circle? Open. And then I have to think, okay, if it's greater, would the numbers be greater to the left or to the right? Definitely to the right. So I would go ahead and draw a line to the right. Make sure it stands out. And then that's how I would graph it on a number line. Not such a big deal. Let's go ahead and work our second example. Looking at this problem here, one of the rules of solving inequalities is that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, do you know what to do? You have to flip your inequality. If it's less than, you change it to greater than. If it's greater than, you change it to less than. So that's one of the rules that I wanted to refresh your memory on before we got too deep into this. If I multiply or divide by a negative number, then flip the inequality. Let's see how that works. So if I'm solving this problem, I need to get y alone on one side of the inequality symbol. So let's see how that would work. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this -4 down here. I can't just get rid of it. What I have to do, inverse operations. Right now I'm dividing by -4, so the inverse would be to multiply by -4 on both sides. But again, if I'm multiplying by a negative, then I have to remember to flip my inequality symbol. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that now. So I would have -32y is less than or equal to -5y plus 9. For these, I like to always get my variable on the left of my inequality symbol. It makes it a lot easier to figure out which way you're graphing. So I'm going to move that 5y. So my inequality is still there. This cancels. I have 9. So I'm going to have -32 plus 5y. That's -27y. And my goal is still to get y alone, but look what's happening here. If I notice, I'm about to divide by -27. Remember the rule? If I multiply or divide by a negative, I have to flip the inequality. So it's kind of interesting that this inequality is going to flip again. So I have y, flip that inequality, is greater than or equal to negative. Sorry about the bell. I'll try to clip that out if I can. So this would be -9/27. But remember, if we can reduce, we will. I can definitely reduce this by 9 on top and bottom. So I'm going to reduce it to get -1/3. Y is greater than or equal to -1/3. So let's graph -1/3 on the number line. I have to look at this sign and think to myself, open or close circle is my question 1. Open or close circle. Because it has the equal to, that would be a closed circle. And second, I have to think left or right. Well, if I want numbers to be greater than -1/3, I would go to the right. So this is how I would graph that on my number line. That's an arrow. Sorry, it looks like that, but that's just how it is today. All right, let's go ahead and continue. We have one more example. So on this example, it says Enrique's company pays Salim to advertise on Salim's website. Salim's website earns $150 per month plus 50 cents every time a visitor clicks on an ad. What is the least number of clicks per month that Salim needs to earn $500 per month? So let's take out the information that we know. Let's see. We know that it's $150 per month. So that is a set rate. So if I'm thinking of linear equations, you usually think of like y equals mx plus b. It's going to be a little bit different because we're working with inequalities, but my set rate would be that b, or set number. Whereas plus 50 cents every time a visitor clicks. That's something that's going to change. Depending on how many people click, that's going to be changing. So whenever it's changing like that, we would consider that our slope or our rate of change. That would be my rate of change. Or my M. Every time, what is the least number of clicks a person can make per month if he wants to earn $500? So let's go ahead and try to come up with an inequality that will help us figure this out. So when it says least number of clicks, least. So I could have more than that number of clicks, or I could have equal to that number of clicks that will let me get $500 per month. But I want to make at least $500. So the 150 set rate plus the 50 cents per click, we'll say X is the number of clicks. So 50 cents per click plus the $150 per month has to be at least $500. It could be more or it could be equal to. So I would go with greater than or equal to. I have to use my reasoning skills to help me figure out what my symbol would be. So let's go ahead and solve for X, which would be the number of clicks. So I would start by subtracting 150 from both sides. Sorry, that should be 500. I would start by subtracting 150 by both sides, and I would have 0.50 is greater than or equal to 350. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 0.5 or 50 cents. And so let's go ahead and use our calculator here. 350 divided by 0.5 is 700. So X would be greater than or equal to 700. What does that mean? It would take at least 700 clicks to make $500. So 700 or more clicks would be my answer. So let's go ahead and graph that on a number line. So I'm going to put 700 on there, and it could be equal to or greater than. So I'm going to make a closed circle. And then greater than would be to the right. With my arrow. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow.